What are the commonalities among leaders who sustain excellence over an extended period of time?
Man, it's so good to see you.
You as well. You as well. I can't imagine Christmas time with 5 girls ready to rock and roll. It's about that crazy time, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all good, man. It's fun. You know, we're having a good time. We just had a little mini vacation to chill out, and now we're back. So it's all good, dude.
Us too. Where'd you go?
There's a place called Hawking Hills. It's a few hours away that it's got some caves and some just great hiking just to get outside, get off the phones, you know, do some active stuff for a little bit, and we had a great time, man. Got a cabin, one of those types of deals.
Amazing. Yeah, we took the kids on a Disney cruise, which was
You did? Hey, I've thought about those. How are they?
Have you been on cruises before?
I've been on cruises. I've never been on a Disney cruise.
Yeah, it's next level. It's I mean, they have a kids club which has literally like a Frozen land, a Marvel land, a Star Wars land that the kids love, and then you go to different restaurants that are themed every night, and your waiters come with you, so they know the kids' preferences, they know what they like, they know how to take care of them.
Oh, so same ones the whole time.
Yeah, so the first one we had our dinner in Marvel, then we had a Frozen dinner with performances and so on, and they literally travel with us to each restaurant each night. It's just it's all my level, like fans first. I mean, you walk in, welcome the Cole family, and like they welcome you in onto the ship. It's the attention to detail that for me it's like the best vacation, because I get to have a great time with kids and I get to learn a ton as well. So it was like,
that's pretty
bingo,
cool, dude.
Like let's do those all the time.
How much like do you have to turn things off? Like, do you have to turn the Jesse Cole Savannah Banana guy off, or like how does that work?
Well, there's difference. I mean, when I'm on the Yellow Tux, when I'm with my kids, I'm a dad, but I'm a dad that I never turn off wanting to learn. And like Emily will look at me, she's like, "You okay, Jesse?" Because I'm just spacing out a little bit for a second, because I'm like so in-depthly thinking about something and trying to parallel think how we can do it. So I will. Yes, I'm always on and thinking about everything in the sense of what we can do. But when I'm with my kids, I can have a point where I'm dancing with my daughter. You know, we're foster parents. We have 2 amazing foster daughters that are hopefully going to be ours soon. But I'll dance with her for an hour and I don't realize it. But then afterwards, I'm like, they got me dancing. This is how they did with the music. This is what they did with the confetti and the streamers. This is how they brought this in. So then I come back and I reflect. So the next day I write, how did they make this experience where I was able to get lost? How do we create that with our fans? So it's a cool thing for me.
I was watching the whole ESPN series. Awesome, dude. Like, it was so cool. And just to see you, and it's like, that's the guy who sends me the text message videos and all that stuff. And seeing you write your 10 ideas per day. So when you're on the cruise, are you like banking those for the next day, or do you immediately write them in your phone, or like what's your note-taking process to remember all this stuff?
No, so what I do is I have a little to do for the next day, and so I'll write ideas on the Disney opening introduction, and so I'll have a theme. My key with ideas is you gotta have the bucket. You gotta have a bucket for the next day. So I'll already pick my theme for the day, which will get me in a lens seeing those things throughout the day. And then so I come into my idea session at 5 in the morning, 5:30 in the morning, and I'm already firing because I've already been seeing things towards that.
Do you remember? You have a good memory as far as all the stuff that you've remembered from the day before or other times before?
Well, I can get my mind to go there because when I'm in a moment, and if I can really remember that, so I can go in that moment, and then it'll get me thinking of other things like that. So I'll take notes if I'm running every morning, which I run, and I listen. It's funny, ESPN covered that too, which is very weird. I run every morning, and then I'm listening to a podcast. Often yours, by the way. I actually remember where I listened to a podcast. I was listening to, I forget the name, but it was like The Meaning of Life. You're either in a art museum or an airport.
Vitaly Nelson. Yeah.
So I was that was the day before we got on the cruise ship. So I'm listening to that, I'm running. I remember vividly where I was running, what I was passing. And then I wrote after that day and talked to Emily. And so then I wrote in my journal, which I have a journal idea, I said, all right, art museum. And so I said, how can I do that? So what are those things that I want to be in that art museum type of mentality? So I will listen to a podcast, get a theme, and then I will come back and write more in depth on it.
Gotcha. So your mind's just always in the learning mode, always on the lookout for ideas, always.
It's what gives me energy, man. You know, I mean, you're the same way, I'm sure.
Well, it's funny, like, how do you get guests? And I'm saying I'm never not looking for them. Never. Yes. Like, always. always on the lookout. I don't even remember how I found you so many years ago. Wait, did you write me? No, I
I
think
wrote you a
found,
thank you letter at
yeah.
some point. It might have been the thank you letter.
Yeah, I think I've heard about you and seen a little bit, and then all of a
MMP,
sudden I
maybe.
got your baseball card and your thank you note,
Yeah.
and that was when it kind of fully brought it together. That's the thing that I'm trying to get better at. What's your process for sending out thank you notes to people?
So again, on my day, and now my life changed when I brought on an executive rock star. And again, titles are very important to me. I share this. It's not an executive assistant. I don't want someone to assist. I want a rock star that people would rather talk to her than talk to me. And so Taylor has been amazing. So I've processed where I'll send notes of like, who had an amazing interview with so-and-so, had a great talk with them. Hey, on my tomorrow's agenda. And so I get my activity sent. And so like today, I'll be very transparent. I'm doing 10 times the amount of videos, thank you videos, as I am letters. So I'm
Just
fortunate
holding
to
your
play
phone up?
100%. So I've done probably 15 or 20 today. So just like this, put my phone up and I'll have a list of 10 or 15 people that have sent me emails, messages specifically of what they were asking about, talking about, or complimenting me. And then I do about a minute video, send it right to Taylor. Taylor then sends it to them. So I'm able to, in 30 minutes, an hour, do personal messages to people that have really made an impact. And it saves my time so I can still touch as many people as possible.
So I get these text messages directly from you, not from your executive rock star, when you're out on a walk or a run, talking about very specific things, which I'm really big, Jesse. I know you are on specificity when you're praising or when you're asking. Be specific. And you are, and it's something it always creates a ripple effect. It gets me to do it. I don't sustain it though. I will say when I get one from you, and a couple people do this, but not many people might. If you're one of them, and it always really juices me up. I'm like, God, this dude's so busy. He's running this thing. I just watched him on ESPN, and literally like 30 minutes later, I happened to get a video from him. What process did you put in place to not only do the things with Taylor and your team and your people that work there, as well as probably season ticket holders, stuff like that, but for just random dudes like me that you're sending videos to, like, what's the process?
Well, the first thing is the mindset. I don't see you or anybody who puts great value in the world as a random dude. So, I know, as Andy Stanley said, do for one what you wish you could do for many. And I know that there are hundreds and now thousands of fans that I don't get to personally touch the way I wish I could. But it's all about what gives you energy. I mean, Ryan, this has been one of the biggest ahas for me, man. I started creating my energy list and I did an energy audit. And I don't know if we talked about this in the last show that I was with you, but I literally realized days I came home burnt out. It was days that I was doing things that didn't give me energy, operations, financials, spreadsheet. I mean, right now, I have no idea what's in the Bananas bank account. I'm an owner of a team. I have no idea. And that fires me up that I don't know. But what does fire me up is sharing, creating, and growing and spreading gratitude. Like those things fire me up. So in my day, I look at how am I doing more of that? And so it becomes contagious to me. Once I send one video to you or a message to you, I probably do 3, 4, 5 more. I think, who are some other people from yesterday or this past week that have really, and I just fire from there because it's that contagious energy. So just keep going.
You listen. So perhaps you listen to a podcast. Usually, that's what you send me a video about. You learn something, and you just want to tell me in the moment, just to make sure that it's acknowledged. Hey, thank you. I learned this. I really appreciate it. Keep it going, man. It's awesome. And so you just like let's just get them in the moment when it's fresh.
100%, 100%. It happens. And again, that could be seen as disruptive, but I make sure I have some white space in my days that I can do that. In my white space, my biggest space is in the mornings. So really from about 4:45 until 7:15, when the kids start really getting going, I have that space. And so I may record a video or record something at 6:30, 6:45, and I don't send it until people like 9 o'clock. A lot of entrepreneurs are up early, but I hold it. And then I have a note on my list, hey, fire that off to Ryan, fire that off to John, fire that off to so-and-so. And so then I can literally go into my time with my kids and I've already, got really good method of where I want to be for the day.
What advice would you give to others who are running businesses, who are leading big teams, who are very busy, but want to be more intentional about showing up for others, about being grateful? What are some ways that they could be better about, this is for me too, about implementing what you do into their daily practice?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, literally, as you know, I think we might have talked about the first time was the thank you experiment. I mean, I started that. I bought 500 thank you letters and custom yellow with, be remembered for who you are, and not for what you accomplished. And I had that on, and I was like, I printed those, and then I started getting a list of people that I wanted to thank you. And the biggest log jam on that was finding addresses. That's one of the biggest, that's the biggest challenge these days, is finding addresses. And that's why it's so hard for me now, because I know 3 out of 10 may never get to someone. And yet I know a video will always get to them. So I'm been very strategic. But yeah, I think it's the intentionality, Ryan. I mean, again, I'm not an expert at it, but I know that if every day I share a little gratitude, if I help lift other people up, as Booker T. Washington said, it'll help lift you up as well. And so anytime I'm ever down, I'm in a funk, and I'm like, oh, I feel like I'm not accomplishing anything. I'm an Enneagram 3. So everyone thinks I'm an Enneagram 7, like I'm all just about joy and happiness. No, like I have to have accomplishments. I have to succeed. And if I'm struggling there, I will say, all right, can I spread some gratitude to someone? And then that changes my day like that. So put it in your schedule, like put in 30 minutes of just actual gratitude. And whether it's a text message, a video message, or a letter, if you put 30 minutes a day, that's not a huge commitment, but it'll actually make you more successful and give more energy to you to have a better day by doing that. And that's kind of how I've been able to do it in the morning.
The idea thing is interesting, right? Again, ESPN hands in on you writing in your idea journal, and you write all your ideas. Yeah, there you go. All your ideas every day, and ideas, like a lot of things in life, are a quantity game, right? You got to get the quantity to find some of the quality, and most of them are probably not very good. It's like writing a book. If you want to get 50,000 good words, you probably got to write like 100 or more, because most of it's not good. I know that feeling.
We know about that.
So can you share more about the importance of not just an owner of a wacky, awesome, crazy baseball team doing this, but a leader in any profession, at any industry, of any a team of any size, why they should have an idea journal and how it could be helpful, and then how they could potentially put this into practice?
I mean, I'm so bullish on ideas. Obviously, with the last book, Fans First, I'm always going to be bullish on creating fans. I think that is the future of business. It's not how many customers you have, because customers are transactional. It's how many fans you have. That is the future of business. That's why, as we talk, we have over 300,000 people on a wait list for tickets, which makes no sense to me. But other than fans, I think the next most important thing for any business is idea generation. And I think it's something that's really just thrown to the side by every leader entrepreneur. You'll have meetings on driving sales. You'll have a meeting with your sales team. You'll have a meeting with your marketing team. But how often do you have meetings just on idea creation and what the next innovation is for your company? And how do you keep pushing an idea culture and an idea factory? I think, as you know, as an athlete, and I was a washed up athlete back in the day as well, you're constantly working out. As a baseball player, every day I was working out, throwing, getting my batting practice in. I was working the muscles to be a better baseball player. Yet I believe so many leaders, entrepreneurs, don't work their idea muscle. And so ideas are very hard. And so many people will say, I'm not creative enough to come up with ideas. I think that is not true at all. I think the reality is you just have to start working your muscle. For instance, you're talking about, you're constantly trying to look at guests and thinking about how to interview and who do you want to interview. Because you're working that muscle, you're one of the best in the world at it, because you've been working it for so many years. With my idea muscle, now I've been doing it for 6 or 7 years. That's 10 ideas every single day. And so every day I am looking for ideas. I am searching for ideas. And why it matters is because now when I get together with our team and we talk about these ideas and then we put into play, a guy coming up to bat with his bat on fire was an idea that wasn't from me. That was from someone on our team. They didn't even tell me about it because they were scared I was going to say no. I would have said yes, get more fire, but that's a whole nother story. But they did it. And that single-handedly, 5, 10, 15 million views, TMZ interview, all of it, and then all of a sudden there's oh, all right, now can we light the mound on fire? Can we light the bases on fire? Can we have the ball on fire? So one idea leads so many other ideas. The greatest example I can show you is we're known most now for our dancing. All right. We're a baseball team that dances, and you could say whatever you want about it, but we're known for dancing. My first year as a 23-year-old GM, I'm meeting with a company, an HR director, and she's like, we don't want to come out to your games. They're boring. They're baseball. And I go, no, it's entertainment. It's show. And she's like, you're a baseball team. I go, no, our players dance. She goes, they what? And at this point, I had no idea our players could dance or would dance or anything. I just said it out of my mouth. And she goes, really? I go, yeah, they do a choreographed dance every night. She's like, oh, well, that doesn't sound like baseball. I go, yeah. So I had to then say, I got to find a dance instructor to bring him in to teach these guys how to dance. And this was before our first game. So the guys think I'm absolutely crazy. I got convinced only 4 of 30 guys to dance, but they danced. The fans loved it. The next day they signed more autographs. By the third day, I'm walking through the crowd. A husband and wife are talking. And all of a sudden I hear the wife go, shut up, honey. They're about to dance. And I was like, okay, we are on to something. This is gold. And so that year they all danced. When I came to Savannah, we developed the Bananas, our senior citizen dance team. They're women in their 70s who dance every night to Bruno Mars and Justin Timberlake, you name it. Then we developed our breakdancing coach. Then we developed our twerking umpire. Now in the middle of games, the 3-2-2, the third inning, the second batter, the second pitch, you probably saw in the ESPN special, we do a choreographed dance into a pitch. Those videos from just the 3-2-2 last year got 500 million views on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. 500 million, and drove our subscribers probably, I mean, we went from less than 1 million to almost 6 million now. And so that dance, that one idea led to entire culture. New York Times did a full page story on us, not about the baseball, solely about the dance. It was in the culture section about dance. So my point is, once you develop that idea culture and you try more ideas, then you learn what to put gas on. And you keep pushing and keep pushing. And so now it's pushing us into other levels we never thought we'd be in. So why don't entrepreneurs, leaders, managers prioritize that with the organization? Say, every week, we are going to have these idea sessions themed on answering questions on how to create a better experience or a better moment or something new for our company. And don't think it is just brainstorming. Bring ideas to the session, answer a question, and then actually have the courage to implement something that may not work.
It seems like it'd be so much more fun, too. It kind of all goes together. This would be a lot more exciting, like the thought of innovation, the thought of a new idea, and the willingness to be completely okay with ideas that have no chance, that are not going to work, that are bad ideas. You have to just get through them, right? You look at the history of inventors, right? I'm sure you study this stuff, Jesse. The people who have the most patents over time, the people who have invented the most useful things over time, they've invented the most stuff. And most of the things they've invented, you never even thought about, you don't know, you never use, you never will, because it's not about that. It becomes a quantity game to get to the quality.
100%. I mean, as I share in one of my keynotes, the brilliant philosopher, Will Ferrell, he said, keep throwing darts at the dartboard, you'll eventually hit the bullseye.
Yeah.
And people don't realize, like, Amazon, the Fire phone was a $170 million failure. It was a colossal failure. But the technology from the Fire phone helped build Alexa, helped build the Amazon Echo. Yep. Pete Rose, who had more hits than anybody that ever played Major League Baseball, had 14,000 at-bats. He had 2,000 more at-bats than anybody that ever played the game. Mm-hmm. Of course he had more hits. So, our mindset, it used to be one new thing a game. Me and our director of entertainment laugh. We do 10 to 15 things every night that we've never done in front of a live crowd. 10 to 15. And I'll tell you, Ryan, 9 to 12 of them do not go well. I just shared on LinkedIn the other day a promotion that was failed miserably, but I could go into the living pinata or, literally the horse head race, the messy baby. I mean, we have every night. But what happens, Ryan, and I think, it's such a testament to you and what you're doing, what you're teaching, is we learn faster than anyone else because we learn by doing.
Yeah.
And the more you do, the faster you learn. And so it's such an obvious principle, but so often people are scared of doing more because of the opportunity of failure. And I don't like talking about failure because I think it makes people, as soon as you say a failure, it makes you not want to do it. So we don't even use the term failure. What did we discover? What did we learn today? And those are often things that don't go well. And so it's so obvious. Every entrepreneur talks about it, but I don't think how many things did you test this yet today? Can you evaluate your team by not how many sales they brought in, by how many experiments they did this quarter, by how many tests they did? And then that's how you can say, oh, wow, we did 12 new experiments this quarter, this year, and 8 of them didn't go well, but 3 are changing our business. That's what I get excited. That's why I love Amazon and what they do, because Jeff Bezos said our success is a direct function of how many experiments we do per year, per month, per week, per day. It's all about experiments.
I love it. So the one thing, Jesse, as you become more well known, as you have and your team, as more great things happen, more notoriety, your social following is absolutely exploded since the last time we talked. I don't even know if you had social following, and now it's tens and hundreds of millions of people watching all the stuff you guys do. Sometimes that past success could actually make you a little nervous to mess up in the future, because now sometimes, like an author who writes a book that just explodes, they're a little nervous about the next book because, like, what am I supposed to do? How is it going to live up to that first book? Do you ever have those thoughts? Like, how do you manage anything like that to say, like, oh wow, we've actually really hit some things now. I don't want to mess this thing up.
It's a great question. I think my bigger fear is irrelevance.
Yeah.
My bigger fear is settling. And the only way you settle or become irrelevant is if you stop trying and stop testing.
Yep.
We're fortunate. We get compared to a lot of different groups, but the Globetrotters is number one. Yep. And as someone has a tremendous amount of respect and admiration for the Globetrotters, especially in the 1940s, 50s, and 60s. I mean, Ryan, the Globetrotters fundamentally changed the game of basketball. People don't realize this. The NBA used to book them for double headers so people would stay for the NBA games. The Globetrotters sold out Madison Square Garden twice in one day. They played in front of 75,000 people in Berlin. Wilt Chamberlain played for the Globetrotters before he played in the NBA. The Globetrotters beat the Lakers twice with George Mikan. Like, they were everything. They were the most popular sports team in the world. And then something happened. They learned how they were so good at the show, and they kept doing the same show for many, 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 many years. And I still have respect for them, but we are not the Globetrotters. Every game, you never know what's going to happen. We are more similar to the Grateful Dead, the WWE. The Grateful Dead will do a concert. They'll play at a venue 3 times, and they'll not play the same song once. That's who I want to be. And that's who I'm trying to push our culture in to say, guys, we're going to do more, 10 to 15 a night. That should be light by 2025. We should be doing 25 new things a night. God. And so that's where I want to push us and challenge us. No, we're not just going to play in baseball fields. Could we play on aircraft carriers? Could we do a Bahamas cruise and actually get off a cruise ship with all of our fans and play in a different island? What are those places that we could play that no one's ever played before? And so when you start thinking big like that, then all of a sudden more ideas come from that.
It feels like this would get exhausting. The travel, the new show every night, even like the Grateful Dead, they play different sets, and my favorite bands do that as well.
Yes,
but they all know all their songs, right? So even if they're going to play different sets, they know all their songs. In your case, you're literally trying new stuff all the time. After a while, do you get exhausted?
No, because it gives me energy. But I know what you're saying. I mean, yeah. Dave Matthews Band, we're both Dave Matthews Band. I mean, I heard they played Pig the other day, and he missed a whole verse, which was hilarious. And like, you can't imagine. And when they do songs like If Only or new ones they haven't done before, it's not perfect. If you watch the evolution of a song, even for the great artists, it evolves, and that's what's great. I think it would be exhausting if it didn't give you energy. And I think this is really true. A lot of people can look at a crazy guy in a yellow tuxedo that's doing all these wild things with a sports team and say that's not them. And that's fine. But to lean in on what gives you energy and try to build a culture of people that do like coming up with these ideas and do like trying new things. For us, it all comes down to recognition. We're in a recognition culture. Ryan, I don't know if any of the companies you've worked with or groups that you work with have done the love languages test. Mm-hmm. But the love languages test was a game changer. And I was kind of very skeptical at first. Our fans first director, Marie, who started us as a 22-year-old, comes up to me, Jesse, I'd like to do the love languages with our team. I go, isn't that for couples? And she goes, oh, well, they have it for businesses. I go, okay, let's do it. And so she did, words of affirmation, acts of service, physical touch, gifts, and quality time. And she did it with our whole team. 90% of our people, number one, was words of affirmation. Number one. And so what I realized, our president, Jared, was number one words of affirmation. The last one was physical touch. He said, tell me you love me, but don't you ever touch me. I go, okay, Jared, we got it. Like, coming in as a high five guy, I got to be careful around Jared. But what we've learned is that this recognition drives behavior. I was just at SeaWorld with the kids after a Disney cruise, and obviously the whale done philosophy, where how they train the whales at SeaWorld is by when they do something good, they feed them. It's not about correcting bad behavior. It's about praising good behavior. And so what happens at our games whether we're in a new city, you know, we play in front of 10,000 people in Birmingham or soon to be major league stadiums and 40,000, our entire team greets the fans before the game starts. And I think they did a little piece in the show about, said, there's a reason, guys, why I want you out in front, high-fiving the fans, dancing with the fans, and celebrating before we open the gates. Because I want you to realize that this is bigger than baseball. It's not if you got a double or if you have 10 strikeouts. It's the impact you make when you deliver a rose to a little girl during the crowd. It's the impact you bring someone up on the dugout and you're dancing with them in the middle of the game. It's the impact of doing a TikTok while you're running through the crowd with one of our fans. And I say, that's what it's all about. And so they do that, and they see, you know, in Kansas City, we sold out 10,000 tickets in 16 minutes this past year. And they showed a little bit. They stormed the gates. They literally ran through security. There was 4,000 people in line 3 hours before the game. And so we had to figure out what we're doing. But after the game, when the game ends, we send the whole team, all the characters, all the players out with the fans. And they sign autographs, and they do autographs, and they do pictures. And all the fans come to them and say, thank you so much for the joy you brought for my kids. We drove 40 hours from Utah, which we have families do that, which is just crazy. And that's what they remember. And at the end of the night, when we put our arms around each other, the whole staff, the cast, the players, the fans, it's crazy. And our band plays the opening beats to Stand By Me. And we're all singing Stand By Me. It sounds very kumbaya, but it gives me goosebumps every time. You look around and you realize that I can never get bored of this. And that's why I get so emotional in that last episode, because I realized we're never going to stop, because it's a feeling that you look around with you're doing with people and you're bringing joy. And that's for me. I don't get exhausted. I think about how do we do it even better.
How about P.T. Barnum and Walt Disney? I love hearing your inspiration from them. What have you drawn from those guys?
Walt even more so, because, you know, Walt still exists in the sense that you get still to see the pieces of Walt Disney on a daily basis. You know, P.T. Barnum at first, what he did as far as creating attention, I mean, he was the most famous person in the world. I can't imagine if he had a TikTok, what P.T. Barnum would do. That's a whole nother P.T. Barnum's TikTok. But, you know, he was tremendous at bringing people together. He brought very unique individuals, and he brought out the best of them. I mean, Jenny Lind, who he brought over, he never heard her sing. But he hired 12 reporters to do stories on her, not about her singing, but about her personality, about her attire, about her characteristics, about everything about her. So when she came overseas and the ship arrived, there were 40,000 people to greet her. No one had ever heard her sing. He was a master storyteller, a master lecturer, a master speaker, and knew how to create attention and bring people together from all over the world. So I really think, I mean, the quote, say from him, without promotion, something terrible happens. Nothing. And that's, you know, but everyone says that quote. By the way, P.T. Barnum, because people criticize me on him a little bit, he never said there's a sucker born every minute. It was his rival. He had a circus rival, which is great. That would have been great TV back in the day. There was a circus rival who came up with that quote and put it on him, so it make people not want to go see his show. What he did say was the noblest art is that of making others happy. That's what he said. So I have a lot of respect for P.T. Barnum, but there's so much more on Walt Disney because you get to feel it and see it. And Walt Disney, the vision, the attention to detail. I think one of the most fascinating documentaries out there is the Imagineering documentary on Disney Plus. The first episode, you get to see Walt walking on the orange groves and saying, this is where we're going to put Disneyland. And you get to see his vision. And Walt was told by his dad he should never be an animator. He was told by everyone in entertainment in Hollywood that Snow White was Disney's folly, that they were going to lose the whole business. And Disneyland, his brother and his wife told him that they would fail. Everyone, every step of the way told him, but he had a vision so much larger than people could see. And he made his vision happen. The fact that he built Disneyland in less than a year, think about that. Built Disneyland for $17 million in less than a year, with a castle, a main street, 4 lands that have never even been imagined. Amusement parks were failing because they were dirty. They didn't have anything that was aesthetically pleasing. They were at carnies. It was not a good experience. He built it in less than a year, and it brought in $24.5 million in that first year. He was brilliant. His vision, he said, it's kind of fun to do the impossible. And the one quote about Walt that people don't talk about much, but I think about all the time, is he said, money doesn't excite me. My ideas excite me. So if you can see the similarities from us, it's on that love of ideas. I have no idea what's in our bank account. I know a lot of people are fortunately buying tickets and merchandise, but I love coming up with those new ideas. And Walt was fascinated and obsessed with ideas to create a better experience. And that's what I think about daily.
You're all about creating raving fans. In your books, both of them, you talk about this. And there are specifically 5 E's to creating them. And I think, Jesse, this is something that could apply across there's no boundaries for creating raving fans. Any business, any leader, this is something that we should think about. Can you tell me more about some of the keys, some of the ways that all of us could create raving fans?
And a couple of years ago, you spoke to Ken Blanchard, right?
Yes.
Yes, I remember that. Obviously, his first book, Raving Fans, made a huge impact on me. But yes, I think it's very easy to look at a guy in yellow tux in the entertainment industry or the baseball industry, as a lot of people think we're in, and say, oh, it's easy, fans, it's part of sports. But I beg to differ. When you think of so many different brands, I mean, Buc-ee's, I've probably heard of Buc-ee's. It's a gas station, but it's known as like the Disneyland of gas stations. I actually kept track. I saw over 50 people at our Bananas games this year wearing Buc-ee's shirts of a gas station. How many times have you seen Yeti hats or Yeti koozies? Yeti is a cooler brand. Yet if you create fans, people want to wear your gear. So how can you create a brand that people actually want to wear your gear? If you have a brick and mortar place, how can you create an experience that people would want to pay admission to come to? There's no reason Toys R Us should be out of business. A little part of me died when Toys R Us went out of business, Ryan. I was like, I love Toys R Us. If they thought of themselves as not a business selling toys, but as a business selling an experience, and you charged admission and you could go play all day in a Toys R Us and you just happen to be able to buy the toys, they would be thriving. Look at the trampoline parks and all the other indoor activities they have these days. Toys R Us was in the wrong business. Most businesses are thinking about how do they drive customers? How do they drive sales? How do they drive revenue? But as I mentioned earlier, customers are transactional. They come and go. But fans never leave. And you can be a fan of a terrible sports team. I'm not going to go into Cleveland sports. I'm not going to go into your world. I'm not going to go into any of that. But what I'm saying is you could be a fan of a team and show up every single year with hope. Because you know why? That team kept showing up every year. Those football teams, they play 16, 17 games a year, and they keep showing up. And they may let you down, but you know they're going to be back next year. Businesses that show up constantly and that are obsessed with eliminating the friction, entertaining always, experimenting constantly, engaging deeply, and empowering action for themselves and their team, they have an opportunity to create fans that will never leave, and you never have to think about marketing, sales, revenue. I mean, right now, Ryan, we spend $0 in marketing. We spend 0 on sales. We don't have any sales people on our team. It's all inbound. Everything is inbound because we focus so hard on creating fans.
Why do you think this is so anti the norm? It is the opposite, that's what you're known for, right? Is doing the opposite of what most or all do and doing the opposite of what's normal. Why? It seems like not only is it much more effective, it also feels like much more fun. Now, it might be harder because you have to constantly come up with ideas and people aren't willing to do that work. I don't know, but why do you think this is so against the norm?
I'll give you a great, it's hard. It's very hard to measure in the beginning. Yeah. And I've said this before, but so many businesses are focused on short-term profits. We're focused on long-term fans. So if you're focused on the next quarter, it's a challenge. If you were following us in the first quarter of 2020, okay, now this is right before the pandemic hit, and you saw a sports team coming up with a big announcement announcing on February 25th, 2020, we are eliminating all advertisements from our stadium. We are getting rid of all of our sponsors. You would say, what is wrong with this team? And 2 weeks later, when we went into a pandemic, I said, what is wrong with me for doing this? But we made that decision, Ryan, and we threw away hundreds of thousands of dollars. And it's the same reason why we have no ticket fees, no convenient fees, we have no shipping fees. And the crazy thing no one talks about is we pay everyone's taxes. So if you buy a $30 shirt online, it's $30 with no fee, no shipping fees, and we pay your taxes. If you buy a $6 beer in our stadium, it's $6. We pay hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxes. Why does that make sense? Because we are so obsessed with creating the long-term fan and creating something that we would be proud of. We want to be the biggest fan of what we do. I never want to come to a sporting event and be sold to, marketed to, or advertised to. So have my stadium plastered with ads and have announcement reads and have people trying to pass out flyers and have a program that is 70% ads and only 20%, 30% content. I don't want that. So we're willing to throw away that short-term profit. But in the long term, Ryan, our president shared this with me because again, I really don't look at numbers. I'm like, I don't want to be $1 billion company. I want to be a billion fan brand. I want to create 1 billion fans. That's what I'm fascinated by. But the numbers work out. As our president shared with me, said, Jesse, you don't want to be eliminated sponsorship? I go, yeah, Jared, I remember. He goes, well, just let you know, our merchandise now is 30 times the revenue we were doing in sponsorship. 30 times. So that's now become a much bigger business than I've ever imagined, more than even professional sports teams, major league sports teams, because we're creating fans. And our revenue comes from our fans, not from corporate sponsors, not from TV rights, not from anything else. It comes from our fans. That's who we work for. And if every business works for their fans, they're going to create an experience that creates even more fans.
There are 9 rules to Banana Ball that make, I think, I don't necessarily love traditional baseball. Don't go to the games anymore. I think they're pretty boring for the most part. Boring on TV too. And watching the ESPN series and just actually seeing it, I'm pumped to see one in person at some point. But traditionalists probably hate you, or at least hate the idea of this. They don't even want like a small shot clock for the pitcher for Major League Baseball games, like let alone all the stuff that you guys do. How do you think about baseball traditionalists versus the 9 rules to Banana Ball?
I love that, by the way. That's probably one of the first questions, and you've had hundreds of interviews that say these people probably hate you. Like, I love that. That actually fires me up.
I mean, am I wrong though?
Oh, no. Yeah. You're. Oh yeah, I get criticized every day, and I also.
It's probably really. No, I'm not even going to say that. Actually, it's just people who don't have as open of a mind to evolving.
It's fine. We're not for people. I think it's so important to know not just who you were for, but as Seth Godin says, know who you're not for.
Yeah.
And I believe, as I've seen this with Walt Disney, and as I've studied him extensively, he was criticized every step of the way.
Yeah.
So I believe if you're not getting criticized, you're playing it too safe. So for traditionalists that don't love us, okay, I mean, we were doing this, right, when we had our own little Bananas podcast many years ago. We used to do a review of the week, and we only read bad reviews of people said, it's an absolute circus at the games. It's so loud. There's a crazy Willy Wonka guy running around. You need to put earplugs in. I shared that because it's like, yep, that is who we are. You got it, nailed it. But in regards to the 9 rules of Banana Ball, again, that concept started from the first E of creating raving fans from the book, Eliminate Friction. And even though we were, again, from sleeping on an airbed 7 years ago, and it's literally almost 7 years ago to the day that we got the call that we were out of money and we had to sell our house. And I remember as Emily turned to me and said, we got to sell the house and we got to put our last dollar into the team. And she said, we only have $30 to grocery shop. And I go, for the whole week? And I go, that's not even food. And I remember going through Walmart and looking at these boxed food. That's where we were 7 years ago. And so fortunately after that, we got people to experience it. They came out and they had fun and we started selling out games. But I realized as we were selling out every game, fans were still leaving games early. And again, as someone who's so obsessed with the experience, you don't go to Top Gun Maverick and in the middle of the movie say, that was a great movie. I'm going to take off now. You don't leave a great show in the middle, but you leave baseball games in the middle and say, I had fun. That was a problem that no one was addressing. So I said, well, what if we looked at every bad part, boring part, slow part, long part of baseball and did the exact opposite? I said, what if we set because we started videotaping our grandstands, which is crazy. But every 30 minutes, we'd videotape our grandstands to see when people would get up and leave. And we were realizing at 2 hours in, there was another influx of about 20% of our fans. At 9:30, 2.5 hours in, 40%. So I said, let's go all in 2 hours. And everyone said, that's too short. And I go, no, I want fans to want more, not to have enough. And so we made a 2-hour time limit. And then we said, well, blowouts are brutal. What if we have every inning count? And if you win the inning, you score a point. And what if you can have walk-offs every inning and have Gatorade showers? And now in the 3rd inning, we'll score a run and our whole team will run through the crowd celebrating. And we won the World Series. And everyone's like, now to the top of the 4th. It doesn't make any sense. Walks, the most boring rule in sports. Walk, not even a rule. It's not athletic. You walk to first. What is that? So we turned it into a sprint, which is a whole other rule. And then fans first. If fans catch a foul ball, it's an out. So which we had 6 of those happen on tour, which is, imagine you come into the game and you actually, a game ended with a fan catching a foul ball. Like, it's crazy. Like, that is like, I vision as like a tight game, bases loaded, 1-run game, and a guy fouls off, and a fan makes like a diving catch, and all of a sudden the players run in the crowd and they're lifting him up on their shoulders. The media is interviewing the fan. The fan's the celebrity. You make them the star. You know, I always visualize the perfect situation. That hasn't happened yet, but that's what we came up with, and we knew traditionals wouldn't like it. But I'll tell you, 98% of our fans now stay till the end of the game. 98%, and watch any Major League Baseball game other than a World Series game, and you're not going to have that. And so we still got a lot to learn. We still got new rules we're going to adapt, but we've only played 30, so we believe we're in the first inning of what we're trying to do, and we're going to go after non-traditionalist fans, people that want to have fun.
Real quick, I know we got to run to your next thing, but at the end of the series, they interview you're very emotional, and then we find out you get a call from the Boston Red Sox. What's going on with all of that?
Yeah, so as a kid that grew up right outside of Boston, I was 5 years old when I got to be a bat boy for one game, the Red Sox. I got to sit next to Lee Smith, and I was a fan of Mo Vaughn and Roger Clemens and all those guys. I had a dream of getting drafted by the Red Sox, and I thought that dream was going to be true. I had some opportunities in professional baseball, and then I tore my shoulder. And Fenway was always my goal because my dad took me there. And my parents were divorced. I was an only child. My mother had some serious challenges, and baseball was everything. My dad took me to Fenway probably 100+ times. You know, there were $5 bleacher tickets back then, so it was very attainable to do. And so my dad, I'm always this kid still just trying to make my dad proud. And I've heard you and your dad, and I could tell there's probably a little bit of that as well. And for all the times that we were at Fenway, and he saw me pitch at Fenway when I was 20 years old, he saw me as a bat boy, and I pictured that call. In the 47th round, I wasn't going to be an early draft pick. The Boston Red Sox select Jesse Cole. I visualized that over and over again. And, you know, I said, that'd be a great dream. And right after the tour, I get a call from the Red Sox, and they said, what would it take to get you guys to play at Fenway? And in my mind, I'm covering the phone, like, what would it take? and I was blown away. And then I got another call from someone else. And this is the C-suite of the Red Sox. And they invited us to come up to a game, my dad, myself, my wife, Emily, our kids, and they put us in the owner's box, and they had to speak to the team. And the president came in and said, what's it going to take to get you guys to play at Fenway? And since that point, we've been reached out to by over 12 major league teams with offers to play at their stadiums. I've had great conversations with the Red Sox, and that dream means so much more to me. And I got emotional, and I thinking about it because it was just about me in the beginning getting drafted. Now it's so much bigger. You know, we have a team, a cast of 125 people. We have a full-time team that's close to 50 now, part-time team over 200, and now fans kind of all over the country. And to do that at Fenway and bring them on the field and say, look at what we just did, that's pretty special for me. And my dad as a kid, when I would come up to bat in T-ball, he tells a story the first time I was nervous. And you're looking at a guy, again, who doesn't seem too nervous. You know, I love what I do, but I was a very nervous only child back in the day. And I came up to bat the first game of T-ball, and I was dragging my bat, Ryan, like walking up to the plate, like the slowest walk. You probably all can visualize what it looks like. And my dad tells a story. He yelled from the grandstand, Jess, swing hard in case you hit it. And I was like, what? And everyone laughs. And I come up, and every time I came up to bat as a kid, my dad would say, swing hard in case you hit it. And I swung as hard as you could at 5 years old, and I kept swinging all the way through high school and college and still today. And to be able to take that type of swing and connect with so many people is going to be a memory I'll never forget.
Oh, man. So cool. One more, Jesse. Someone who's a bit earlier in their career, maybe a recent college grad, they want to leave a dent. They want to do some stuff like you've done. Maybe not in the baseball industry or owning a team, but in general, they want to impact people like you do. What are some general pieces of life/career advice you give to that person?
I think it's almost a great way to wrap this all together from what we were talking about in the beginning. Give without wanting anything in return. So often we get reached out to, and you know, I'm very proud of the wait list that we have for tickets that's in the hundreds of thousands, but I'm more proud we have a wait list now to work with us that's over 3,000 people. And people constantly reach out to us. They want to work with the Bananas, and so fortunate the social media has driven that, but they talk about what they could do, and they don't necessarily think about, I'm going to start just offering something. I'm going to start giving something. If I'm a graphic designer, I'm going to start designing something. I had a young kid, a high school kid, who started doing videos of my speeches and cutting them in and doing things. He's like, hey, I just love what you spoke, and I just want to send these to you. And he did graphic design and just sent it to me with quotes that I said. And I was like, I want to find you a job. Like, I want to find an opportunity for you. So for someone young, and you find something that you look up to, that you like, that you admire, start just giving. When I started, when I was 23 years old as a general manager of a team in Gastonia, I wasn't able to pay myself for the first 3.5 months. There was only $268 in the bank account. There was no money coming in, but I pushed and pushed and pushed. And I was like, all right, I got to sell something every day. I got to do something. I got to give. And so I think if anybody can take that mindset, not what's my starting salary, not what can I get out of this, but how can I give? As you know, how many interviews are you up to now?
Hundreds. Over 500.
Yeah, you've given so much more than anybody could ever ask for. And when you started the same thing, and you didn't get anything in return other than your great knowledge that you gained in the beginning. And so I think that's the best advice for someone young. Give. Be patient in what you want for yourself, but be impatient in how much you give to others. And that's in the back of our Fans First playbook that we share with everyone on our team.
Man, I love you, dude. I really do, man. I am so, you inspire me. And it's, the cool thing is, since we get to talk semi-regularly, like, you are legitimately getting better. Like, you are getting better each time. And I know that is not an accident. You're wiser. You bring just better stuff each day. And I think that's an inspiration too for people to say, if you're intentional and you work at this, even if you're at really high heights, you can keep getting better. I want to acknowledge that, man. That's really cool. And I really value you so much. And we definitely got to get to a Dave concert.
Yeah, we got to go to a concert again.
and obviously a Bananas baseball game. I really appreciate this, man. I encourage everybody to get Jesse's books. I just saw online too. It looks like you got a third one coming out next year. Is that, if that's accurate?
Yeah, we're hanging on that,
yeah. But Find Your Yellow Tux, Fans First Change, looks like Banana Ball is in 2023. So I highly recommend people get this stuff, man. It's so good, and obviously on ESPN Plus too, you can still watch all of your that series is really, really well done.
Thank you. I'd love to share one more thing as you were just talking to remind me of, what are you doing when no one else is watching? When you think about yourself and the preparation you do for every interview and the preparation for every speech, and I've listened to everything that goes into when you give a keynote, that is where the real difference comes. And no one sees me at 4:45 until 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. And the ideas and the reading, the listening to your podcast, no one sees that. And I think that for another young person coming up, what are you doing when no one's watching? There's no trophy, there's no recognition, there's no acknowledgement. It's that work plus the giving that I think is unstoppable. And you do it, and some of the best leaders do it. And I think that that's something I just love to share, to put out in the world.
So true, man. It's so true. All right, man. I know you got a crazy day. I really appreciate this, and let's definitely continue. I know we will as we progress.
No, you're the best, my friend. Appreciate you.
Love it. All right, man.